Hello, welcome back to Only Pistols. Today we're having a look at a Crosman 130. This is a 2.2 single shot multi-pump air pistol. Production dates 1953 to 1970. Let's start by looking at the markings. And on this side you've got Crosman 130 and then production Fairport, New York, USA and caliber 2.2. And on the top on the loading gate, let's get it to focus, you've got the serial number stamped in. No markings on this side. Construction, you've got a rifled steel barrel, a steel breech, steel compression tube, and a steel loading handle, pump handle. Aluminium frame, which contains the trigger, and then plastic grip scales marked with the C for Crosman. You've got a crossbolt safety, so this way that's in the fire position, it allows the trigger to move, and it is quite simply just locks the trigger with it pushed through. So that's it. Sights, the foresight, which is also the end of the compression tube and holds the end of the barrel in place, and it is quite a standard profile, actually quite usable. And the rear sight is literally a bent piece of metal. That's a replacement which I had to make because it was missing when I got the pistol, but it is, from pictures, that is what you get. Adjustable for windage by slackening off that screw and just moving it side to side. The trigger, not adjustable in any way, it just releases the hammer. And otherwise what you've got there is the loading gate, which you operate by turning it over so that it comes clear of that peg and then just moving it back. When you've got it back there, you can see the pellet probe, which is hollow. Probably can't quite get the right light onto that. It's hollow with an O-ring seal at the back of it. And the air, when you've compressed the air, it's held in a valve in the compression tube, and then there's an O-ring seal between the two. So when you release it and the hammer fires it, actually we'll touch on that in a minute, the air is directed up through a seal into the breech here, which is a hole at the bottom of the breech, and that then blows into the loading probe, which is hollow, and then into the back of the pellet directly. So quite a nice little system. What makes this quite unusual? Well, historically with pump guns, and this isn't Crosman's first pump gun, what you would have is the pump system and then a valve, a hammer. And the hammer would be what would be released by the trigger and would knock the valve open. What you could get with a pump gun, if you just kept pumping it, eventually you'd get so much pressure in the valve that when you release the hammer, there wasn't enough energy in the hammer to actually knock the valve open. And so these would begin locked and they'd end up having to go back to Crosman. And Crosman basically got fed up with this. So they've designed a new valve, and this is a pretty much unique to this model. I think it might have been used elsewhere. Certainly these Crosman were the first to use this system. And it came in two forms. So the first form was in the very early 130s, which was you actually had to set, you had a little knob on the side here, and you actually had to set the hammer forwards so that it was, or set the valve forwards so that it was locked in place. The later ones, and this one, what you've got is a light spring in the back here, and that just pushes the valve shut. And what's useful about this is it means that the valve is permanently shut. So there isn't another hammer, you don't have a cocking piece or anything, so these are permanently cocked. So as it is there, nothing happens. If you just put one pump into it, just to demonstrate, the trigger is now set, and pulling the trigger opens the valve. So what you're actually doing is you're allowing the valve to open, so the valve is being held shut by the trigger. That's really good. It means you can't over pump these. However much you pump them, you can't get them to a point where they won't fire. The bad point is that the more you pump it, the heavier the trigger gets, because the more energy is required to actually overcome that valve against the air pressure. Not massive, but it is appreciable. So how do you do it, pumping it wise? Well, what you've got is a pump, and at the front of that you've got a rubber cup seal, felt lubricating washer there, so just drop some oil onto it, and then you've got an adjustment screw, so you can actually vary the depth that goes to in the action, and you want it to just be touching. Anything less, it's not compressing it properly, with a lock nut, and then the rest of the carriage there, which is acted on. Now, a couple of things to point out on this one. It shouldn't have that or that. At some point, and it wasn't me, I promise, I think the original rivet gave up or was removed for some reason, and that repair looks suspiciously like a nail that's being riveted over, and where they didn't get it quite square, they've just taken a file to the action so that it will now clear it as it goes through. And I said, I think that's someone previously has done that, but I promise it wasn't me. So how many pumps? 5 pumps will give you a fairly good indoor target shooting power. So and these things are known for biting people. They're quite difficult to get them away once you've got some power in it, and when you close it up, the danger is you get your finger or your skin caught in there, and they're quite vicious. So you've got 5 pumps in there, 2-2, so you literally drop the pellet onto the loading tray and then just push the cover forwards and rotate it, and that seals it up. And then you just take up the trigger and it fires. It's quite good. So let's just go through that again. So it really does keep your pellet consumption down and keeps you fit. There are a lot of good things about these. So, push the pellet forwards and fire. There you go. The Crosman 130. Accuracy wise, well, I was quite pleased with that. Using H&N Excite pellets. Is it a target pistol? No, of course it isn't. But that would give tin cans a serious worry. Then I thought, I know, I'll have a go with some other flat-headed pellets. And I did that, which there are 4 pellets there, and then I let the side down by pulling that one. But it's quite capable of doing some decent accuracy, and that would certainly worry any tin can you had downrange. So there you are, the Crosman 130, a single shot multi-pump target pistol. No, it's a plinker, but it's great fun. And this one I actually got as part of a box of bits. I was after another pistol, and this was just in the bottom. It was broken and looking pretty sad for itself. So I got it working. It's great fun, and on tin cans, it's an absolute blast. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Slight diversion from my normal fare, but anyway, if you've liked this, then please like, share, subscribe, tell other people about it, and otherwise I'll see you again soon with another pistol. Thanks very much. Bye.